of the biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend and what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. The men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
Surprise! No Rich Cooper this week, guys. It is me, your favorite number one, number two, I don't know, right-hand man of Rich Cooper. It's the first time I've ever said that on live. But I think I'm fine with that title. Guys, Rich is still on vacation. He's out this week. He'll be back tomorrow. I'm traveling this weekend, taking some guys from the Unplugged Brotherhood into a meetup. So we're just sort of swapping spots here, and I'm filling in for him. So if you want to click off and you want to say, like, screw him off, whatever, get the hell out of here, I'm not here for you. I'm like, now's the time. Go for it. That's fine. It's cool with me, man. But I wanted to talk about something I think is super important. It's something that comes up quite a bit, and I think it's been a little while since we've addressed this. And to be honest, I don't know if this is something that Rich has addressed much lately, and this is something that I've had a lot of questions about recently from guys in the School of Unplugging, School of Entrepreneurship, Unplugged Brotherhood. It's something that always is coming up. Really quick, if you guys didn't know, so this ticker at the bottom, the School of Unplugging, we have done some recalibration of our communities in the recent weeks. We got a huge year planned. We got a bunch of stuff going on. We're getting ready to gear up for sort of meetup season. The first one's going to be kind of happening this weekend. The School of Unplugging at one point was like $169 a month. We realized that our members really wanted more of the entrepreneurship content. So we sort of rebranded that group and that page to the School of Entrepreneurship. If you still go to this link, it'll take you to the School of Entrepreneurship. We haven't been able to change the URLs out, not to get technical, but school's kind of behind on that stuff. But you'll see in the top of the About page paragraph the link to the new School of Unplugging, which as of right now is only $49 a month. So you still get all the great content. But if you want, the entrepreneurship stuff, you'll want to go to the School of Entrepreneurship. And then we've actually rebranded the 10% to the Unplugged Brotherhood. So if you guys are following along with me on Instagram, you can kind of find that stuff out. But we're going to do a lot of revamping on the website. We're going to be doing a lot of community focused stuff in the next 6 to 8 months. So really awesome time to join if you guys have not answered the call yet. But anyway, let's get into it. So finding a quality woman comes up a ton, right? I think we get accused a lot on the channel, or a lot of people want to say, well, you guys talk about red flags, you talk about what to avoid, you talk about what not to go for, but what are green flags? It's like, well, it's such a weird question to me, because it's like, just do the opposite of the red flags. So if I say a feminist, that's a red flag. Find a non-feminist, green flag. If she doesn't have a good relationship with her father, that's a red flag. Find a woman with a good relationship with their father. Like, it's not that hard. But the more I've thought about this and the more that I've run into guys, really what guys are looking for are things that don't exist. And if they do exist in a small vacuum, and I'll talk about that. But what most guys want, when guys are asking me, Maf or Rich, where do I find an attractive, feminine, submissive woman who respects me as a leader, who understands that there are blue jobs and pink jobs, who understands the way that traditional masculinity and leadership is the best way for a relationship, and she gets all of those things, Where do I find her? That they don't seem to exist. Like modern women are cooked. Like we hear that all the time, right? And they don't exist in the way that guys think they exist. They don't exist in the wild. You are never really going to find a single available, attractive, submissive woman who fulfills this laundry list of all of these things. And I think this is where guys are getting screwed up. Guys are going out in the wild and thinking that these women are just out there and like, oh, I just don't know where to find them. Maybe I should try to find them at church. Maybe I should go to country clubs. Maybe I should not go to bars because when they go to bars are fucked up. Maybe I should go to this. Maybe I should go to that. And you guys are thinking about it all wrong. If you happen to potentially now, I know that this is not 100% chance because I know there's going to be somebody, in the comment to be like, oh, hey, like I found a girl one time and now I married her, blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever. I'll grant you the 1 in a million shot. But most likely, if you run into a woman who has all of these things, respects men, respects the leadership, blue jobs, pink jobs, submissive, she didn't get that way on her own. She got that way because the man that she's with, in a relationship with, or married to, made her that way. And that's the big caveat that I need you guys to understand. And that's the focus of this show today is too many guys are going out there looking for the Mona Lisa. Too many guys are going out there looking for the statue of David, right? These masterpieces of art that are revered and that are just amazing and they're 10 out of 10. And women don't get there by themselves. You're not going to find a single woman out there. Like just look at the women that come on ladies' night. That's a perfect example. If a woman is out there by herself and she's single, like most of the time, the women that have come on our show are train wrecks. They're fucked up. They're single because of trauma or baggage or kids from another marriage or this and that and the other. And it's almost always the women that are submissive and they respect their husbands and they know their responsibilities and they know their roles. They're almost always in a relationship or they're almost always married. So what does that tell you? So it tells you that guys need to change their thinking. Guys need to change their thinking. You're not looking for a completed masterpiece that's behind museum glass and stanchioned off where you can come and marvel at it. The best you can really hope for, and this is what you should be looking for, to be honest, you should be looking for a blank canvas or a hunk of marble, a unblemished, ready to be molded, whatever you call it, clay, right? Like, I don't know, what's the singularity of clay or marble? Like a hunk of marble sounds kind of like fucked up, but I'm talking about maybe just a pillar. And if you are the guy, if you are the leader and you know how to mold her and you know how to be in your frame and you know how to guide her and you know how to be competent, all of these things that we urge you guys to do on these shows and in our communities and all of this, then now here's the caveat, then again, that's how you mold her and that's how you create a woman that you want to be with. She doesn't get there on her own. Women, when left to their own devices, make incredibly retarded choices. Women, when left to their own devices, for the most part, are really bad at picking partners. They're really bad at picking their romantic boyfriends or partners or who they would consider a partner. Not who I would consider a partner. I don't like that word. But it's this idea that for a very long time, it was the father or the father figure or an older brother that would pick the male for that woman. Because, I mean, look at the kind of men that women are attracted to today. Look at the kind of men that women are fawning over. Murderers and jailbirds and criminals and like these thug guys that are, by all measures, they're alpha. In a way, they're the bad boy. They're the can't be tamed, right? We talk about killing Batman all the time. I'm not going to rehash that. But what happens is when a blank piece of canvas is left to their own desires, they're left to their own sort of agency, it's far more likely that the marble is going to be dropped or chipped, or the canvas is going to be ripped or torn. And I don't care how good of an artist you are. It all goes back to what is one of the first things that ever resonated with me in Rich's message was it doesn't matter how strong, virtuous, masculine, how good of a leader you are, how well that you establish and hold frame, how much excellence you chase. If a woman did not grow up seeing that in a father figure, an uncle, an older brother, whatever, some sort of blood male relative, then she's not going to respect that in you because she didn't grow up in her formative years understanding that that's what a real man, and what a true man, and what she should aspire to take in a husband or a long-term boyfriend or whatever. And it's the same thing. Like, you can be Michelangelo, you can be Leonardo da Vinci of leadership. You can be the most alpha virtuous guy, and you can have all of these skills, and you can be an amazing leader, and you can impart your wisdom, and you can guide and lead a woman. But if that canvas is ripped, I don't care how good of a painter you are, like, it's just going to look like shit. If the marble is already chipped and it's falling apart, like, you can't do anything with it. So really what guys need to look for, and this is why it's better overall, not even the part where it's like younger women are more attractive. Like, we can all kind of agree that women in their 20s across the board generally are more attractive than women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. We have data to back this up. And I know people are in the comments, oh yeah, but like, my girlfriend was attractive at 35 and I know some fat 20-year-olds. Yeah, I mean, we know, man. We've all heard it before. We get it. But on the balance of probabilities, women in their 20s generally more attractive to women in their 30s and 40s, et cetera. Besides all of that, a woman in her 20s is generally going to be far less experienced, and I mean life experience. Now, women will try to tell you that their life experience makes them more attractive. The fact that they've gone out and done a whole bunch of things, or they've gotten a bunch of jobs and gotten a bunch of promotions, or they've traveled all over the world, or they've got PhDs, or that they've been in relationships and they've been dumped and broken up with, or they've been abused. I say that because a lot of women use the term abuse as like financial abuse and emotional abuse. And I refuse to acknowledge those things as actual abuse. When I hear abuse, I'm talking about physical abuse, and not he punched the air beside you or hit the wall behind you. I'm talking about dude hauled off on your ass. That's what abuse is to me. I digress. But women will wear those as like badges of honor. And they're like, oh, my experience makes me more valuable. And it's not the case. Trauma is dealt with and processed differently for men and women. Trauma mostly never leaves a woman. It doesn't ever make a woman better. It very rarely, what it does, and women tell us this all the time, the proof is in the pudding. Again, going back to ladies' night, this is a gigantic social experiment. A lot of people are like, oh, why do you guys waste your time talking to the women? Because we're trying to show you guys in real time, this is how they act. But a lot of these women that have been married multiple times, or they've been with abusive husbands or whatever it is, they're still carrying that. They didn't say like, oh, this made me better. What it really did was they're like, oh, well, it showed me what I didn't want. It made me raise my standards. It made me better at selecting. But it's like, that's BS. Like, I don't see it, because you're still carrying it around. And as you've gotten older, and as your sexual market value, as we like to say, has declined, you're getting more selective. You're making standards higher when you have less value to offer. So it's not beneficial. And that trauma doesn't go away. That stuff you carry in your brain, it's going to stick with you. Now, for men, that can also happen to men. But men, if they do the right things, is they can overcome that, and they can use that. Like, when guys have trauma, and I don't really like using the word trauma, but we'll just use it as a placeholder. But when guys get zeroed out, where do they go? They do one of two things. Unfortunately, a lot of them take the permanent solution to a temporary problem. And that's the worst case possible scenario that can happen to a guy that gets zeroed out by a woman or wife or whatever, and loses access to his kids, marriage, house, assets, etc. And he decides to end it. The worst possible outcome. Okay. that happens, or a guy goes looking for answers. And guys that find this channel and guys that find the red pill or guys that unplug, they've gone looking for answers. And now those guys have used this event, this trauma that's happened to them. And so many guys, Rich Cooper, myself, a lot of guys in our community, most guys in our community have used a zeroed out event, a traumatic event, to build themselves up to have an obstacle to get over. And now they're doing better than ever before. They're doing better with life and women and money and relationships and networking. And my life would have never been, I'm confident, I can confidently say my life would not be nearly as good now as it would be if I had never unplugged. If I had never gotten, broken up with or red pilled by my ex of a couple of years ago, if I continued to do that whole dog and pony act, I would not be nearly as successful. I wouldn't have the network. I wouldn't have this platform and the ability to help other men. I wouldn't have any of this. So I'm thankful for it, but I also use that experience to say, like, hey man, like, yeah, you were fucking up and now it's time to get better. And a lot of guys do that same thing. So the reason I bring this up is that the women that are older, when you're finding women in like their or even their late 20s at this point, late 20s, early 30s, 40s, 50s, there's always, especially if they're single, there's almost always some sort of emotional baggage, emotional trauma, even physical baggage, that they may have kids. I mean, God bless her. What the heck was her name? I got to write it down. Galia, I think. She had 2 kids. She's 27. She's had 2 kids from 2 different men, and she's already been divorced. She's 27. It's like, Jesus, right? So it can start early. It can be in your late 20s. It doesn't have to be 30s, 40s, 50s. And so one of the reasons that it's a little more beneficial for men to date younger women is because in all likelihood, they don't have that type of experience. They're less likely to experience that trauma. Now, there's a lot of guys out there that'll say, oh, like, well, women will have body counts in their 50s by the time they're 19 or 20 and things like that. And I'm not disputing that fact. I'm just saying it's more likely that you'll have a blank canvas or even a slightly less blemished canvas when you're dating younger women. They have not been through generally a bunch of guys. They haven't generally been through a ton of breakups or a divorce or had kids. I'm saying it happens, but if I had to randomly select, if you said, hey, you have to randomly select who you think has more baggage or more trauma, a 22-year-old woman or a 35-year-old woman, like I'd pick the 35-year-old, and that's all I know is their age. I'd pick the 35-year-old woman every single time because I'm talking about probabilities, not possibilities here. And I could pick wrong, but I think for the most part, I'd be choosing right. And older women hate that a lot. They hate when older guys date younger women. They hate it, and they try to shame guys. Oh, you just want to manipulate them. You just want to slave. And it's like, call it what you want, manipulate. I call it molding. I say, listen, this is the kind of woman that I want for my life. If she's going to be the mother of my kids, or if I want to be in a relationship, or God forbid, if I want to get married. I don't, but some guys still do. But this idea that it's like, well, I have to find a woman that checks off all of these boxes. Like, dude, it doesn't exist. And if you do, she's married, or some guy's already wifed her up or is in a relationship with her, because women generally are not getting there by themselves. They don't get there alone. So you really have to find that sweet spot where it's like, number one thing, you have to find women that are avoiding like the big red flags, the big major ones that are non-negotiable. To me, those are any sort of past drug or alcohol abuse, any sort of substance abuse, any sort of violence in her past, whether it was fighting with her ex or anything like that. Daddy issues is a big one. I know this is going to suck for a lot of women to hear, but the one thing that Ladies Night did for, I think, both Rich and I is double down that the most put together women were the ones that had good fathers growing up. The most fucked up women were the ones that had no father growing up and had no relationship with him. Now, I'm not talking about a good relationship being your little princess and your daddy's little do bitch, and you can call him at any time, or he buys you whatever he wants. He treats you like the princess or whatever and gives you what you want. I'm talking about a man that knows how to run the house, a man that knows how to lead, a disciplinarian, a man that's competent, takes care of things. I understand. I know that's becoming increasingly rare. I really know. But again, we're talking about probabilities here, not possibilities. Blank canvases are far more abundant than the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is one of one. Blank can't hunks of marble are plentiful. The Statue of David is one of one. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? So I really think the best possible scenario that you can have as a man is you get your stuff buttoned up, you get in shape, you get your money right, you learn how to lead, you know how to stand on your principles. It was really funny. If you guys didn't watch the show last night, we had 2 ladies quit within the first hour, which we'd never had before. I'm not saying that as a badge of honor, like I got those dumb bitches to rage quit. The show was great after that. I think we got some good ground, like Casey Marie and Galia, but definitely it was more of a conversation than kind of back and forth. But I digress. The point that I'm trying to make is that it was so clear that the problem that Genevieve had, for example, you guys, you if you go back, it's all the shaming language. You hate women. You're a misogynist. You don't respect women. You're definitely single. And most guys, I guarantee most guys will capitulate to this. They'll say, oh, no, I'm not a misogynist. I love women. And I'm going to reject that moniker. But I even told her, I was like, so what if I am? Like, okay, what else you got? And when women realize that their shaming tactics and their name calling and their speech policing doesn't work, they have nothing else to hit you with. Because most guys will fold because like, oh, I want this girl to like me. I don't want to see, like, I'm going to tell her I'm a feminist because I think that's going to get me some pussy. I'll tell her what she wants to hear. And most guys will not stand up to a girl. And when I said, yeah, like I'm not going to capitulate. I'm not going to let you just throw these names around. You don't even know the definitions of what you're calling me, which is embarrassing. I asked her, I was like, do you make it a habit to call people names that you don't even know what they mean? And then she left, like she couldn't handle it. So that's another thing for you guys. It's like standing on your principles. You'll realize, I keep bumping the table. Sorry if it gets blurry. You'll realize through your interactions that women are so much more malleable and moldable than you guys really think. Now, there are definite instances. Let's take feminism, for example. There are a lot of fringe feminists out there. There are a lot of women that are saying, yeah, I'm a feminist. And then the minute you go like, yeah, like I don't buy that stuff, they'll be like, oh, okay, interesting. They're going around or going along with what the mainstream, they're hedging their bets, right? Unplugged men who stand on their shit and don't believe in feminism, don't support the LGBT, whatever, alphabet army, don't believe trans people really exist, think that it's a mental illness, and don't succumb to these retarded mainstream media narratives about cutting kids' genitals off and that we should send all our money to fucking Ukraine so it can be laundered and turned into, cocaine for Zelensky. Those are rare people. Those don't exist as much as you would think. Like if you go on Twitter, you'll see it all the time, but like most people aren't on Twitter. Most people don't exist there. Like Twitter is a vacuum. This online social media space, this unplugged arena that we live in is an extremely small microscopic part of the corner of the internet. But because we live in it all the time, we think that's our reality and everybody's like that, but that's not how it is. The vast majority of guys out there are still, I don't know if it's the vast majority. I think the tide's starting to turn, but let's just rewind the clock maybe a year, 2 years ago, where the safer bet for a woman, especially if she wanted to be accepted by a guy that she thought was attractive, was to say, yeah, I'm a feminist. Yeah, I'm a liberal. I believe in equal rights, blah, blah, blah. Like I believe in blah, 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 blah. And she would most likely run into a guy that was like, oh yeah, I support that, this and that. I mean, we don't have to get into the sort of underlyings of actually liberal men tend to be low testosterone. They tend to be less attractive. Women tend to not go for them, but I digress. What women aren't really caring about liberal principles. They're just caring to go along with the current most popular thing at that given time because it's a survival mechanism. Going along with what the crowd is at better odds of acceptance and better chance of survival, protection, provisioning, all of those things. So the actual content of what she believes in or what you guys are talking about. Oh, I believe in liberal principles matters far less than the actual context. She's really just saying like, what's the right thing for me to say where I'll most likely get in this guy's frame. And then if a guy turns it on her, and I used to do this too, it'd be like, yeah, I don't believe in any of that. I'm not a feminist at all. I think that's all bullshit. I think there's blue jobs, pink jobs. I think women are designed for, I think women are really good at these things. I think men are really good for these things. I don't think we should fuck that up. And just like that, like, yeah, actually, if I could find a guy who would pay for everything and I didn't, or like I could stay at home and raise kids, I would do that. I would quit my job tomorrow. And it's so fast. And it's in the same conversation. On one hand, she's like, yeah, I love my job. I love being a boss girl. You know, it gives me so much, value to my life. And it makes me feel so accomplished. And I'd be like, yeah, I think all that's bullshit. She'd be like, yeah, I would quit my job tomorrow if the right guy came along. And that's what I'm talking about. So when guys hear things like feminist or I'm a liberal, you've got to take that stuff all with a grain of salt, because the vast majority of women are malleable to a point where if they find a strong, virtuous man that they want to follow the lead of and they want to have that guy's kids and they see him as the guy, guys, we talk about this all the time. They will adopt your mannerisms. They'll adopt your political affiliations. They'll adopt the music that you like. They'll watch the sports that you like to engage in. They will be like, we had a girl on a ladies' night. I already knew this, but she's like, yeah, like when I'm me and my husband, like I adopted all of his stuff. We're like twins now, which is kind of weird to talk about your husband, but I digress. The point being, now, the caveat, like I was going to say, there are certainly outward displays and outward representations that women make where you can steer clear. Because a lot of guys will say, well, Ma, like, what do you mean? Do I got to go on a date with a blue-haired feminist with a bull ring who's got all of this stuff and who's tatted up and who like wears a t-shirt that says kill all men on it? No, those are absolutely red flags in women that you should not involve yourself with for any period of time whatsoever. You're looking for, you know, some sort of LTR, some sort of mother of your kids or relationship or things like that. And let me be clear on this too, guys. I'm not really talking about casually dating here. I'm not talking about spinning plates. I'm talking about if you're a guy, especially younger guys, and you want to still settle down, because a lot of guys still want to do this. Even guys that have been married and divorced, like most guys, I think, still are looking for the LTR thing. I don't know a lot of guys that want to spin plates for the rest of their lives. If they are, it's because they've got kids already and they don't want more. And that's just their bag and they have no problem with it. But most guys, in my experience, from what I've seen, still over the long run will prefer either another marriage for whatever reason, or at least an LTR. So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So yeah, man, like it's what we talk about. Watch what they do and don't listen to what they say. So the next time you're on Hinge or Tinder or Bumble or whatever dating app is all the rage now, you know, and you see a girl puts in her, she's like, if you voted for Trump, like swipe left, or if you voted for Trump, or like if you're not a feminist, or if you don't believe BLM, take a look at her profile. Do her words match up with how she looks? Is she dressing? Is she a little more conservatively dressed? Is she well put together? Does she seem like she's got a friendly disposition? She probably would waffle on some of that stuff. And I think too many guys are seeing those things like, oh, wow, feminist, swipe left. Oh, no, she says BLM, blah, 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 swipe left. Oh, she says trans people are real people, swipe left. You've got to kind of pay attention and be able to separate sort of that avatar from what they're saying if it looks that way. But it's like I said, if she's got, the cotton candy pigtails with the bull ring and all that kind of stuff, or if she's like big Bertha, then don't worry about that. But if the way that she carries herself and represents herself physically, because women are sending a message physically. Y'all know that. Women know deep down, like to their core, that men are superficial creatures, that men are looking for the outer beauty, that even as much as they'll say, I want a guy that values me for my accomplishments and things that I've done and my degrees. And I once went to Haiti for a mission trip and I saved the blah, blah, blah. We don't care about that. And they subconsciously deep down know that, because if they didn't, they wouldn't wear makeup. They wouldn't take care of themselves. They wouldn't get their nails done. They wouldn't have long hair. They wouldn't care about the way they dress. Like they do all that stuff. And they'll lie and say they don't care about that. And they'll lie and say how they don't care about men's attention. But then no girl would have any Instagram and no girl would post pictures and fish for likes and blah, 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 and this kind of thing. So they do care. So don't let them fool you. The mistake so many of you guys are making is that they're listening to women. They're listening to them when they don't even know what they're talking about. We've seen on ladies' night over and over that women will say one thing and they'll act completely different. Women will tell you to your face the kind of guy that she goes after, and the guy she actually goes after is the complete opposite. There's really no reason for you guys really to listen to what they say for the most part, especially when you don't know her very well. You just need to pay attention to actions. And you might think, oh, well, that's a lot of work, Mom. Like, am I going to go out with a girl who says all these liberal things or all these things that I don't agree with, or how she wants to be a boss babe, just for the off chance that maybe I can swing her? It's like, I don't see what other choice you got, man. Because what you guys are looking for and what certain guys are looking for, it's like, nope, she needs to know all of these things. She needs to know that she does the pink job. She knows she doesn't want to work. She wants to take care of the kids. They don't exist on their own. If they got that way, it's because a man led them to be that way. Now, a lot of times it's just going to be a husband. Sometimes it'll be her dad. But again, if it's a woman that's in her 30s or 40s, most likely it's because she's married and the guy has led her there. If she's in her early 20s, it's probably because of her dad. So this is what I'm talking about entirely, is you guys have the power. Stop looking for the finished product that you're just going to come in and buy off the shelf. It's going to take some work. And you guys might say, oh, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, blah, 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 blah. And I guess I understand where you're coming from, but I really don't, because I think most guys out there that say that kind of shit have sour grapes. You know, I was talking to, I don't want to say too much, but I had a conversation with a guy recently, and I run into this a lot, where I talked about this last time on the show too, where it's like, hey, like, I don't have any time for dating. I'm so focused on fitness, or I'm so focused on my business that I just don't have time. I'm not interested in it. And it's bullshit. I called him out on it. I'm like, I think you're bullshitting yourself. I think you're lying to yourself. I think that you are not being honest about how you just don't want to do the work to level up to get what you want. And you're saying it's not worth it. But I don't really agree. I think that you care a lot more, and a lot of you guys that write that kind of shit, I think you care a lot more than you lead on. But it's easier just to say women are cooked and women aren't worth it, versus I'm fat, I'm broke, I don't know how to lead. Because then you've got to, then you're the problem, not the other people. If you're not getting the results you want out of life, you got to look in the mirror, because the problem lies with that guy. It's not everybody else. Because guess what? You're the common denominator. What's more likely? If you go on 100 dates and none of them call you back, that there's 100 gold digging whores that you went out with in a row, or that you just don't know how to maintain frame, you don't know how to have a good time, or you're boring, or you don't have what women want? What do you think it is? Most likely it's the latter. So to kind of wrap things up here, and guys, if you want to call in, it should be pinned at the top. I would be great to get you guys some of your opinions on this if you wanted to kind of call this in. But I'm not going to keep you guys here forever, because I got stuff to do too, man. There's a lot of stuff with the community I got to hammer on. But this is kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm interested. Leave a comment down below, or call in if you want to agree or disagree, or pick my brain on this. But too many guys are looking for the Mona Lisa when all they really need is a blank canvas. And blank canvases are far more plentiful than stunning works of art. Because the only way the Mona Lisa, you're not going to find the Mona Lisa in the wild. The Mona Lisa only exists because Leonardo da Vinci painted the damn thing. Statue of David only exists. Was that Michelangelo? Because Michelangelo, Kiza will correct me. If I get anything wrong history-wise, Kiza will absolutely correct me. I'm sure he's going to let me know on that. I believe it was Michelangelo. He painted the Sistine Chapel, but did he do the Statue of David? Somebody check me on that. Either way, the point is, become the master sculptor. Become the master painter. If you're a fisherman, become the no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Become the master of that domain. Become the leader. Be able to hold frame. Know these things. Know how to stand on your principles. Own up to your shit and become a man that is worthy of following and leading. And I'm telling you, all it takes is a blank canvas. All it takes is the blank canvas. All it takes is avoid the major red flags. All of the other stuff will fall in line, man. You have the power to mold. Yeah, look at that. Well, I know he did the Sistine Chapel. First of all, got a Sistine Chapel, Kiza, not the 16th chapel. I can't believe I'm correcting you on this. I'm never going to let you live that down. Either way, we're getting off the rails here. Be the master of your domain. Find the blank canvas. Find the uncompleted work. If it's got rips in it, bounce on to the next one. If the marble's already got chunks out of it, it's already crumbling and falling apart, bounce on to the next one. But I'm telling you, even though you're saying like, well, these don't exist by the millions, sure, but guess what? The Mona Lisa is one of one. Statue of David's one of one. The Sistine Chapel is one of one. That's what you guys got to stop looking for. You've got to start looking for the blank canvas. And then we talk about this in my community all the time. If you are that guy, you can do whatever you want. I got a dude in there that is a pioneer when it comes to this whole unplugged dating scape. Like he's putting a book together. He's just trying stuff and throwing at the wall, see if it sticks. Some of the stuff that he's been able to pull off, actually unbelievable. I can't wait till when he starts putting that stuff out or wants to put out some content, and I'll get him there. But this dude is freaking nuts. And he's forgotten more about dating and chicks than I'll ever know. And I appealed to him on a lot of this stuff. I know I saw him in the chat. I don't want to blow up his spot though, but that's what I'm saying, guys. Stop looking for the finished artwork under museum glass. Find something that you can mold, because guess what? I think what you guys are doing, a lot of you guys are lying to yourselves, thinking that you're this great leader and you're this top shelf guy. And you don't know how to find these women, or you can't find these women because you're this great alpha dude making all this money and you're still struggling. I think you're lying to yourself, or you're looking for the thing that doesn't exist. Like you're not willing to put in the time to mold a woman. And I understand if you don't want to do that, don't do that. But there's no other option. There's not an option. You're going to deal with the crazies. You can deal with the blank canvases. You can deal with the baggage and the trauma women, or you can try to find Mona Lisa. But guess what? The Mona Lisa's already been painted by some other guy. I'm going to run the ad reel. Actually, I'm not going to run the ad reel. So if you guys want to call in, go ahead and call in. I got Alfredo back here. And then let me just go back and see if I missed anything in the comments. This guy right here, man. Great topic, Moss. Shout out to the Unplugged Brotherhood, getting to school, unplugging, learn how to become that guy. Women 184. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right. Alfredo, talk to me, man. What's up?
Hello, my brother. I just wanted to congratulate you on everything you've done.
Thank you, man.
To show us, that we're no different. We can all do this,
Yeah.
That's a really good point. People don't realize it's about them. It's about them leading. They think it's all trash out there, but it is what it is. You said it right, brother.
Look, I don't dispute that it may be a little tougher out there than before. Like, I'm not disputing that the globalization of the sexual marketplace and Instagram, I don't dispute any of those things. But guys have to understand this is the world that we live in, and you have one of two choices. You can play the game or not play the game, but you can't change the game, and you have to decide what you want to do. But I think a lot of guys are choosing not to play, not because the game is rigged. It's because they're not willing to do what it takes. And that's perfectly okay. But if more guys were to, I think the problem I have is like there's a lot of guys aren't honest with themselves about that. A lot of guys are not looking to themselves in the mirror and saying, I'm the problem. They want to point the finger at everybody else.
That's right. That's right. And it's only up to, like I said, you guys are doing something. You guys are changing lives, or you're saving lives. One of those lives is mine. To be honest, that's the solution. Yeah, and it was. I mean, I'm speechless because I go back to that moment, and like I said, you guys are saving lives, and I don't. I know you guys don't take it lightly, but I just want to know how high up you guys are, because it's God's work, bro. Really, really. There's no other way for me to say it besides it. I'm not saying rich is. I guess we all have that in us, like, to be something great. But really, bro, you guys are saving lives, and I'm very happy and grateful to. That was 5 years ago, and I think that's when I found Rich. And man, it's been a long process, but you know what? was perfect the way it happened. It's a shame that I had to go through that, but you know what it is. Sometimes it is what it is.
Well, we're glad you're still with us, man, and glad you went through it. You know, everybody goes through it when they need to go through it. A lot of guys say, "Oh, you know, I wish I got this earlier," or "I wish that I'd been red pilled when I was younger," this and that and the other. But you just never know. Like, you never know how you would able to handle the situation, how you would have been able to handle the information when you were 18 or 23 or 40 or whatever. It's just you just had to. You went through it when you needed to go through it, and here you are now, man. So just keep grinding away and keep plugging away. And we appreciate the kind words, man. We appreciate the support, of course.
Super grateful for you guys. I'll see you next
All
time.
right, man. Take care. See ya. All right, good stuff. Yeah, there was some I could hear him, but I didn't want to cut him off, man. He was saying some good stuff. So what did I hear? Somebody wanted to call in, but she couldn't. I would call in. Yeah, I would accept. Just go ahead and call in. If you got to call, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you got to do. I mean, I'll take a couple of minutes. I've seen you pop in the chat a little bit, bushcrafty. But either way, if you can't, you can't. Kizza, what's up, bro?
Long time no see, Mark. How have you been?
Good, man. What's happening?
Yeah, basically, I just wanted to continue on with your point regarding the best things are never the final product.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are definitely correct, because I think a lot of people do forget they want effectively the unicorn option. And I'm like, guys, you need to forget about the unicorn option. You need to start with a base, whether it be a blank canvas.
Uh-oh. I think I lost you. I bet he's at work.
I just disconnected.
Oh,
Sorry.
there you go. All right, gotcha. We're back.
Yes.
We
So
got you.
that bloody thing disconnected was time. Yeah. So you do that. You start from there, and any changes, tweaks, or modifications you like to make, you start from there, and you just refine and refine and refine to the point where you end up with the final product which you desire.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things a lot of people don't quite understand. Which yeah, it's just I think too much now. I think nowadays I kind of blame like modern technology and modern convenience, where everyone wants everything instant
Yeah.
gratification, straight there, rather than being where the old times where you had to work and get everything over time. Like, you couldn't just call up and just get a meal delivered to you within 20 minutes. You had to
Right.
go out, get your spears, get your bow and arrows, hunt the deer, kill it, and drag that thing home to be able to cook it.
Yeah.
That's
I
one
mean,
aspect.
To me, it's easier.
Not just
It's
that,
easier
but
to put in the work, right? Like it's like you're trying to find a sword, the perfect sword in the wild. It's like you'll spend your whole
So
life
that-
looking for that, versus if you had a piece of metal and you just maybe learned how to hack it and create your own sword. You not only you would have a much higher success rate, but then you also get the feeling of the accomplishment. You say, yeah, like, this is a girl that I met, or this is something that I found, and I molded it and now my life's great because I've designed it exactly how I wanted it. And it's like, it's custom to me. I didn't go buy it off the rack and just say, oh, well, like, I'll deal with this option. It's like, no, I'm going to take this, and with a little bit of elbow grease and skill, I can make it exactly what I want. And the point of what I'm trying to say is, like, it's not just about putting in work, but it's, if you want the best possible option, or if you want the highest probability of being able to do the LTR thing or marriage thing and kids, if that's your thing, then this is the route to go. It's far more likely that you'll have success molding her how you want her to be than finding a perfect thing in the wild, which, if you ever find that, it's not because it exists naturally. Oh, there he goes. It's not because it exists naturally. I got to remove Alfredo too. It's not because it exists naturally. It's because somebody made that and created it. You know, we talk about like the watchmaker argument. A lot of people, not to get religious on you guys, but people talk about, you know, I can't believe a God doesn't exist because if I'm in a forest and I find a watch with just perfect order, you know, how could you say that and it just occurs naturally? How could you say that somebody had to have designed that? It's like, well, we only know that somebody designed that because we know that watches don't grow out of the ground and they don't occur naturally. So you're never going to find a watch that's like growing on a tree. Somebody had to mold that and make that and perfect that and give that order and design and give it how you wanted to give it. So that's what I'm trying to get here too. So, because I'm gonna wrap up here, brother. But I saw you pop back in, but I'm gonna start wrapping up anyway. So Yeah, just to give you guys, I know you guys couldn't quite hear Alfredo. He was just giving us some props, man. He was, he said that we talked about a permanent solution to a temporary problem. He said he came to that point 5 years ago, and then he found Rich's work, and he was saved by him and saved by the work, and that's been really good. And again, man, like I'm not here. I'm not a savior. He said God's work. I'm not the Messiah. Obviously, I'm not the savior. I'm not sitting here saying it's obviously we want to save as many men as we can, and we want to give men an outlet, and we want to give them an opportunity to get in person and do meetups and do things and be around guys that are like them in a world that's constantly shitting on men for having opinions about masculinity. I mean, we talked about last night, we were talking about toxic masculinity with Genevieve. It was so clear that in her mind and in most people's minds, the function and the purpose of a man is sacrifice. You don't get to do anything for yourself. You can't have any hobbies. Your purpose is to be a machine. You are a worker ant, and you will grimly wake up every day and do your work and sacrifice for everybody else. And there's nothing left for you to have. You're not allowed to have that. You're not supposed to have it. Your purpose is to live and protect and provide for other people. And I just think that's bullshit. I don't think you're required. You don't owe anybody anything. If you want to give that, if you want to provide and protect that, if you want to offer that, that's something you can freely choose. But you don't blanket owe anybody anything as a man. You don't blanket owe women respect. You don't blanket owe anybody respect. And that's what I was trying to get through. You can choose to, but this whole idea that, everybody deserves the sacrifice of men and that men should just do it because men are men, it's fucking nonsense. Guys, I'm going to wrap up on that. Excuse me. This is a good comment here from Andy. She's hire slow, fire fast. Of course, I look for reasons to reject as soon as possible rather than reasons to keep and cope. True. If she's already molded to someone else, that's a discard. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is too, don't hire too slow and don't fire too fast is all I'm kind of getting at, right? So if a woman is clearly, like we talked about, like displaying those signs and outwardly, like clearly she's out to lunch, boom, get rid of her. But maybe she's on the fringe. Maybe she just needs to hear like, okay, I like this guy. I find this guy. If she's out with you on a date, she obviously thinks she's got an interest in you because you're not invisible to her, because women don't go out with guys that they at least don't see themselves with potentially, or at least like in a sexual setting. If the girl's going out with you on a date, she wants you to win. She's rooting for you. So now she's just trying to see, well, how is this guy? Like, how can I fall into this guy's lead? How can I fall into this guy's frame? And if she doesn't do that, then like, okay, fine, cut bait. Right? If you are standing on these principles, and she's like, yeah, like I'm a feminist or like this and that. And you're like, nah, I don't really believe, I'm not really into it. I don't really care. Like, I think that women are really good at these things. And I think that life is just easier and better for all involved when we abide by our natural proclivities in biology. And if she goes, oh yeah, cool. Like I don't want to work anyway. So it's amazing. And it's freeing to hear you say that. Or she goes, yeah, I think that's bullshit. I think that's misogynist. Like it's retarded. Like I don't, okay, cool. Now you can cut bait. Right. So anyway, I had one, here we go. One more time from Andy. You're right, Moff. Not hating for opinions, but reasonable preference is too much for them these days. A lot of that is sometimes. There's one more comment in here from my guy, Chris here. Yeah, I know the volume is low. Here we go. Huge important point right here. Women are more starved for a masculine leader than ever before and more willing to hop in bed so you can vet them quickly. Never been easier. Yeah, I second all of that. Cool, man. This has been it. I know I gave you guys a little bait and switch, so I hope I didn't know you guys too much. If you stuck around, I appreciate it. Let me know what you think below. If you think I'm out to lunch, if you guys agree with this, but I encourage you to take this with you, right? It's just say like, listen, maybe I have been looking for this unicorn. Maybe I have been looking for this needle in the haystack when really I should just be looking for something that can be moldable. I should be looking for a blank canvas, not one that's torn and ripped up. I'm not telling you guys to go look for battered and broken women with tattoos that got daddy issues that are clearly out to lunch. I'm talking about, find a girl that might be relatively normal, right? Like that shouldn't be that hard to find. And hire slow, fire fast, but don't knee jerk it. It's kind of my wrap up. So I'm out of here, guys. I'm going to run the ad reel. Like I said, I'm not going to do office hours. We kind of switched it. I'm going to head to the deep woods with some guys this weekend for some training and some tactical stuff. So we'll have some video guys on site. We'll get some of that out. Follow me on Instagram so you guys can keep up with what we're doing. I'll add it to the Unplugged. I have an Instagram now for the Unplugged Brotherhood. It's just at the Unplugged. It's at the_Unplugged_Brotherhood. So follow along there to keep up. And join the School of Unplugging, man. Never been a better time to get involved. We got a lot of good stuff coming. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and see you on the next one.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.